So this share note is going to be on the blood calcium control. So the calcium control is crazy important. We need calcium for muscle contractions and for the nerve cell conductions. So the calcium controls how the muscle contracts and how the electrical impulse can go from one place to another. For that we need calcium. Calcium is electrolyte, and that electrolyte conducts electrical current within the system. Our system runs on electricity. So here's the blood, and we need a certain amount of calcium. For the sake of this discussion, let's say here's the line represents the blood calcium, and the calcium controlled precisely within the blood. It cannot be too much, it cannot be too little, so it should be within a particular range. So we can control blood calcium with hormones. So there are two important hormones that control calcium. One hormone is called parathyroid hormone, and another hormone is called calcitonin. So the parathyroid hormone increases calcium in blood. So if the calcium is here, parathyroid hormone will increase calcium to make sure that it's with equilibrium, with its homeostatic range, within homeostasis. And if the calcium is too high, let's say calcium is right here, then calcitonin will bring calcium down, will decrease calcium in blood. So the calcium will stay here, again within its homeostatic balance. So the parathyroid hormone increases calcium in blood, and the calcitonin decreases calcium in blood. Where do we get those two hormones from? So let me erase this. So within our system, we have a gland, and the hormones are being released by the gland. So the one gland is called thyroid gland. So the thyroid gland looks like this. So there's a thyroid gland and there's a parathyroid gland. So the thyroid gland, let's say this is anterior view, right? And the parathyroid gland, let's say this is the parathyroid gland. I'm a great graphic designer. Parathyroid gland from the back, from the posterior view, looks like this. So these are the parathyroid glands, right? That secrete parathyroid hormone. Thyroid gland secretes calcitonin. So the one gland secretes two hormones, but that one gland can have these little nodules at the back, at the posterior side. That's called parathyroid glands. Let me erase this. I'm just gonna have one image. So this gland secretes calcitonin and secretes parathyroid hormone. One gland. Calcitonin decreases calcium in blood. Parathyroid gland, through parathyroid hormone, increases calcium in blood. Let me erase this again. If calcium is high, thyroid gland releases calcitonin, and calcitonin will decrease calcium in blood. If calcium is high, thyroid gland releases calcitonin, and calcitonin decreases calcium in blood. By decreasing calcium from here to this homeostasis right there. So the calcium will stay within its equilibrium point. If calcium is low, parathyroid gland, within the thyroid gland, right? Parathyroid gland sitting within the thyroid gland at the back, at the posterior side. Parathyroid gland releases parathyroid hormone. And parathyroid hormone will increase calcium in blood. If calcium is here, now it's within its homeostasis, within its range. Let me erase this. I'm only gonna discuss right now parathyroid hormone. So how do we increase calcium in blood? Where do we get calcium from? So the renal system or digestive system can contribute its calcium, but let's look at something that is very important that can lead to osteoporosis. So there's a term resorption, taking calcium from somewhere, resorbing, bone resorption, meaning take calcium from the bone. So it's basically when you decrease calcium, when the calcium is too high, there's two ways. You remove calcium through the system, through the renal system, you can excrete calcium, or you can store calcium in the bone. And that way you can bring calcium to its homeostasis, right? Putting back into the bone or removing it, excreting it from the system. But here's your bone, right? I'm a great graphic designer. Here's your bone. So the bone resorption, meaning taking calcium from the bone and putting back here, right? So your calcium was here, you're taking it from the bone and you bring it back here, right there. So now it's homeostasis. And that's how basically system controls calcium, right? So there's a constant bone resorption and then bone deposition, bone resorption, bone deposition. But what if there is a problem with parathyroid gland? So parathyroid gland releases parathyroid hormone. Parathyroid hormone acts on the calcium, acts on osteoclasts. Remember osteoclasts, bone resorption, taking the calcium from the bone? This osteoclast could be hyperactive, meaning you would be resorbing a lot of calcium. By resorbing a lot of calcium, that can lead to osteoporosis. So if this gland is hyperactive for some reason, then you're producing too much of parathyroid hormone, acting on osteoclasts, resorbing, breaking down the bone, releasing calcium into the blood. Yeah, you will release too much of calcium, but you also will be breaking down the bone. So if it's hyperparathyroidism, hyperparathyroidism, then this can lead to osteoporosis. And that's what actually happens with age. With age, for some reason, this is hyperactive, leads to osteoclasts being very active, and that can lead to osteoporosis. So you're starting with this, and you're ending up with that. Thank you very much.